so many questions, but who was going to answer them? If only she hadn't kept secrets from her mother or allowed Corporal Mitchell deceive her, she should have been at school. The worst part was she didn't know where she was. Victoria could feel her hands and feet shaking out of fear. She picked up the file and quickly put it back into her bag. She leaped towards the window to see if she will see the strange man. She checked slowly and carefully so she won't be caught. He was right outside, standing like he was waiting for someone. Victoria looked at her foot and it was still swollen a bit. She tried using it to walk normally, and it kept on paining her. She could feel her head aching. This time it felt as if she was going to be sick. Those must be the symptoms of her pregnancy. She thought to herself. How was she going to escape from the hands of this strange-looking man? Victoria asked herself as tears began rolling down her cheeks. She heard footsteps of the man coming into the hut. She wiped her tears quickly and lay on the wooden bed pretending to be asleep. The man opened the door, and for a while the door was left open. He walked in and came to the wooden bed where Victoria was lying down. He checked if she was really sleeping. Victoria tried her possible best to hold in her fears and not shiver. He stretched out his hand to touch her, then a call came into his phone, and he left the hut, leaving the door open. Victoria could hear him talking in a strange language till she couldn't hear him anymore because he had moved away. Even though she had allowed Corporal Mitchell deceive her with his words, she was still a smart girl. She sat up, took the file from her bag and tiptoed to the doorpost. She peeped and saw the strange man walking a distance away. Carrying her bag will only delay her escape. She managed with her swollen foot and ran into the nearby bush cautiously. Few minutes after she had left the hut, she could hear the sound of approaching cars. From the sounds, she could tell 2 cars were headed towards the direction of the hut. Victoria tried her best and increased her pace, but it wasn't easy for her. Victoria. 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 She could hear her name from multiple voices a distant away. They must have started looking for her already. She kept moving as fast as she could. Within a short while, she heard sounds of people walking and running towards her direction. Some were calling out her name. The sounds were much closer than she had thought. She knew they were catching up on her. The day was bright. She decided to go into hiding. Victoria hid in a spot and kept observing. In no distant time, she could see some men calling out to her. She hasn't seen them before. They could only have known her name through the old man. "We won't hurt you," they shouted also as they called out her name. The file dropped from Victoria's shaky hand and made a sound. The men all channeled their senses towards where they heard the sound. They drew closer to uncover Victoria, who closed her eyes tight and was shivering out of fear. A squirrel fell from a tree and dropped down. It ran off immediately. "It was just a squirrel," one of them said. One who looked like their boss spoke in an angry tone. By his demonstrations, Victoria could tell he was angry at the strange man for lying to him. They gave up on the search and withdrew from the area. Victoria was thorough to be sure they had left before coming out from her hiding spot. She could feel tears flowing down her cheeks as she was walking to where she couldn't tell. Her legs were hurting, her head was aching, and she was feeling cold all at the same time. But she kept pushing her limits. She could feel her body temperature rising. She needed water and food. She picked out some fruits and devoured them without even washing. She reached a stream and drank from it. The atmosphere was changing already, and it seems it was evening time. Victoria wanted to rest for a while. She had walked for hours. She heard noises a distant away. She must be closer to a village park, she thought to herself. She stretched her strength and began walking again. By the time she got to the park, she could see cars loading, people buying and selling. She knew most of those cars were heading to the city. She was determined to fulfill her dreams, and it could only be possible in the city. She wasn't sure how she will do it or where she will get money from. She saw a loaded truck carrying foodstuffs to the city. She quickly sneaked into the back of the truck and hid herself. The driver closed the back of the truck and drove off. Victoria was so tired and sick, when she realized the truck has moved, she fainted.